January 8, 2016 at 4 o'clock. Invocation tonight. Jeff Adams, you mind doing that for us, buddy?
Be fine.
Thank you, sir.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, thank you for today and this lovely weather we're having today. Thank you for everybody being saved during the flood that we had. Lord, be with the council and the mayor on all these decisions tonight. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Jeff. Roll call, Mr. West.
Mayor Max A. Townsend. Here. Councilmember Andy Page. Councilmember John Cook.
Here.
Council President Don Gudger. Here. President Pro Tem Jenny Folsom.
Here.
Councilman Clint Hobson.
Here. Reading of the minutes from December 28, 2015.
Mr. President, I make a motion to approve those minutes that we suspend the rules.
There we go.
Second.
Please call the council, Mr. West.
Councilmember John Cook.
Aye.
Council President Don Gudger.
Aye.
President Pro Tem Jenny Folsom.
Aye.
Councilman Clint Hobson.
Next, we'll take a motion on those minutes from December 28, 2015. What is the pleasure of the council?
Mr. President, I make a motion we approve those minutes as written.
We have a motion. Second. We have a second. Any further discussion? Coming none. Mr. West, please call the council.
Councilmember John Cook.
Aye.
Council President Don Gudger.
Aye.
President Pro Tem Jenny Folsom.
Aye.
Councilman Clint Hobson.
Any additions or deletions to the agenda? Having none, we'll move into reports. Reports of our standing committees, general government, Councilmember Jenny Folsom.
No report.
Public Works, Councilmember Johnny Cook.
No report.
Let the record reflect that Coach Page had surgery, and that's why he's out today. Tourism, Councilmember Clint Hollingsworth.
No report.
Utilities, we're going to have a report in a minute. Is that all right when we get closer to the resolution? Report from our mayor.
No report, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Comments from anyone that is not on the agenda, if you'd like to speak or is not on the agenda, you're not on the agenda, please come forward at this time.
Would this be in opposition to the,
No,
okay, so.
I'll say that. The way this is set up on there,
First reading.
the first reading, I'm going to do that a little bit later, okay? Having said that, public hearings, we don't have any tonight, and so we're going to move on into requests, petitions, applications, complaints, appeals, and other. One of the main reasons that we're here today and have a special call meeting is an emergency that was from the flooding. Mr. Jeff Adams, do you mind standing up and just giving us a brief synopsis of what 1 through 6, I believe it is, 1 through 5? Yes, for you, there's an emergency.
Sure.
Thank you.
At the wastewater treatment plant, Welty Road, we had some damage out there due to the flooding. Most of the time, our creek that runs behind there that we put into is around 10 yards wide. It got up to about 200 yards wide and flooded parts of our system, our ultraviolet light disinfection. We had to get some chlorine in because it went out. But we're all running right now and doing everything we can. Everything is running like it used to be, except for the chlorine. It got into some of our pumps and motors, and that's why we're doing this today. Try to get some of those implemented and back working where they need to be.
All right. Thank you, Jeff.
So Jeff, what you're saying is we had some mechanical failures, but we had backup plans and
Yes.
stuff in place to take care of it. We're treating everything this time.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we're treating everything at this time. All of our pumps, we always double up on, but I don't want another pump going out and we don't have anything.
Correct.
So right now we're still running, but I want to get these backups in.
Good.
Thank you, Mr. Adams. Number 1 under requests, petitions, applications, complaints, appeals, and other. Number 1 on the agenda is emergency request for the wastewater treatment plant from Jeff Adams to purchase a rebuilt 150 horsepower pump for the north pump station from Jim House and Associates in the amount of $14,000.
Motion to approve.
Motion, second. Any further discussion? Having none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Second is emergency request from Jeff Adams to purchase a screen motor for the wastewater treatment plant from Vulcan Industries in the amount of $15,668.
Motion to approve.
Have
Second.
a motion, second. Any further discussion? Having none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That carries. Number 3 is an emergency request for a wastewater treatment plant for Jeff Adams to purchase chlorine system for the wastewater treatment plan from Aqua Products, Inc. in the amount of $14,000. What is the pleasure of the council?
Motion.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Any further discussion? Having none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
That's approved. Number 4 is emergency request from Jeff Adams for the wastewater treatment plant to open channel flow meter for the wastewater treatment plant from Aqua Products in the amount of $3,743. What is the pleasure, council?
Motion approved.
Second. We have a motion, we have a second. Any further discussion? Having none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Number 5, emergency request for the wastewater treatment, Mr. Jeff Adams to purchase an HVAC unit for the North Pump Station from Christians and Sons LLC in the amount of $5,600. What is the pleasure of the council?
Motion to approve.
Second. We have a motion, we have a second. Any further discussion? Having none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Number 6 on the agenda is emergency request for the sewer superintendent, Mr. Chris Freeman, to purchase ductile iron pipe from Southern Pipe and Supply in the amount of $20,000. I assume that is, it's emergency request. What's the pleasure of the council?
Motion approved.
Second. A motion and a second. Any further discussion? Having none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, and that has been approved. Number 7 is a request from Chief Reinhardt to purchase 12 portable radios from Sharp Communication in the budgeted amount of $11,640. It's a pleasure of the council approving this request.
Motion approved.
Second. Motion second. Any further discussion? These are for a new fireman, of course. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right. On into the agenda of resolutions, ordinances, orders, and other business. Number 1 is Resolution 2016-38. Wes, are there backups on here? Yeah, thanks. To establish a debt management policy for the city of Cullman, which will significantly improve the city of Cullman's bond ratings that are coming up. Wes, you give us a small synopsis on that?
These are the informal procedures that we came up with in 2012. These are the procedures we've been following for a long time, these policies. This is no changes. This is actually what we've always done. This is just putting it into a formal document. And with us doing this will more than likely get us an upgrade from a AA- to a AA with Standard & Poor's, which could mean savings of hundreds of thousands of dollars over the next couple of bond issues that we might have. So at this rate, we would not be required to have bond insurance, which is something we've had to buy in the past, which can be very expensive. So this will be a great policy and a huge savings for the city.
Thank you, Mr. Wells.
Motion to adopt the resolution.
Second.
I have a motion to adopt and a second. Any further discussion? Having none, all in favor of adopting this resolution, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That carries. Number 2 is resolution number 2016-39 to renew the workers' compensation with Smith Gray Insurance Agency, Inc. in the budgeted amount of $309,277. Mr. Mayor says no rate increase, correct? All right.
And move with safe.
That's right. Having said that, it was the pleasure of the council in adopting this resolution.
Motion to adopt.
Second. We have a motion, we have a second. Any further discussion? Having none, all in favor of adoption, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? It also carries. Number 3 on the agenda is to reschedule our Cullman City Council meeting from January 11th to January 18th at 7 p.m. So we're just pushing that back a week. What's the pleasure of the council in adopting this resolution?
Motion to adopt.
Second. Any further discussion? Having none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Number 4, with the authority of the President of the Council, I'm going to give a little bit of a leeway here. Normally, we don't allow people to speak after the first part of this agenda, but I'm going to in this regard, just because people are here, I think, to represent both sides. Normally, we would do that at our public hearing, but tonight, normally, we would not, but I'm going to tonight because I see people on both sides here. And so I would like to have one speaker for the people that would be for rezoning this, and then one speaker for the people against rezoning this, which is a little bit out of the ordinary because normally we'd wait for a public hearing on the rezoning of the James Robert Spear property. And so at this point, if there is somebody, before we get into this, I'd like to make sure the public knows there are 2 readings for a zoning. The first reading is that we pass, and then we advertise, Ms. Gale, Mr. West, for how long consecutively? And
This is just annexation, so it'll just be a first reading.
First reading to
And then you can do a second reading, and then will be published after you make a motion.
All right, and so this is the first reading, so there will be no action taken tonight. I want to make sure that the public knows that on both sides. But at the next meeting, it'll be on the agenda for the second reading, correct?
And then you can take action at that time.
That's correct, all right. So I'm still going a little bit out of order to let people talk about this if you'd like to. If you would like to come forward at this time to speak against this annexation, please come forward, and we'll give somebody, let's say 3 minutes, if that's fair. Cal, you coming forward, I assume?
Yes, sir.
Please do.
I'm gonna get, I don't have the numbers, I don't know if I need to state my name, address, all that kind of stuff.
If you'll do this for us, if you'll get behind the podium, do state your name and address just for the record, and then we'll give a 3 to 4 minute.
My name is Kel Lawrence, I live at 1333 13th Street Southeast, Cullman, Alabama, 35055. From what's come to my attention is we have a small parcel of land that is currently in the county that's going to be zoned B2. It's under 5 acres. Am I correct so far? Anyone? Thank you. Typically, when this happens, in the past, is what we've done with the standard operating procedure, our normal business, is that we do not change a zoning from anything in the county unless it connects to that adjoining property. And this one is not. It borders a B1, and I think a residential one. I think my map's over here. So it's not a standard thing to do to change a B2 listing or a B2 zoning. It's not, this is not how the council's worked in the past. This is not the planning commission, however zoning, whatever y'all call it. That's not how it's worked in the past. This is very odd that it's come to this point so far. That we've just, because in case y'all don't remember, 2 years ago, I tried to have a parcel that's 2 to the left of it with Brian Messersmith brought in at 4 1/4 acres and was told it could only be B1. And the whole process was stopped. So I'm curious as now why the council is even considering doing the same thing 2 parcels down for a smaller piece of land that is not in, this is not how this has been done. That's not, we're changing our rules for some reason, or we're not following what we've normally done in the past. I'm just curious as to why this is being done. I guess I'm a little emotional about it because it's my younger brother that's doing this, and he's chosen to do this for whatever reason. I have no idea. And we've discussed this in the past, and he seems to go against his word. But yes, I just go back to the fact that we've always been 5 acres plus, then we can change it to a spot zone. If it's under 5 acres, you can do adjoining properties. And as we can see here, there's not one B2 that adjoins this property. It's under 2 acres, and it seems a little odd.
Rick, you want to handle that or answer that for us as far as spot zoning?
He is correct on the size. It is less than 5 acres. And it does not adjoin the B2. It adjoins the B1s across the road from B1.
And it was, in the past, it has been declined.
Yes, as of 2 years ago, it's been declined for me.
I'm not familiar with what was done in the past, but planning commission's recommendation. The rule, the way I understand it is that generally speaking, it is considered not good planning if you have spot zoning. Okay, unless that spot zoning is conducive to the area. In other words, if everything else may be zoned wrong, and you want to start zoning everything, in this instance, B2, that would be.
Can y'all hear him?
Not really.
Okay, is your microphone on?
Yeah, it's on.
Okay.
I don't speak very loud.
Yeah, because it says right here that 62-1055, that granting these various requests will not confer upon the applicant any special privileges that are denied to other residents for the district in which the property is located, which I would be one of those exact people that tried to do this a couple of years ago, and it was denied. black and white from y'all's zoning ordinance.
Because you denied one, does not mean that you have to.
There's two properties over.
Yeah, Kyle.
I'm just asking.
Can I
Yeah,
finish?
hey, but we are-
I'm trying to answer for you,
And
sir.
we know our regulations, but you're at your 3 minutes, so if you don't mind sitting down, I'd appreciate it.
Perfect.
Roy, please, go ahead.
Circumstances change, zoning change, that's the reason that zoning can change from one to another, is because the circumstances surrounding the use of the property, the rest surrounding the prior uses of the new uses of the property surrounding it change. So therefore, so, I don't know, did the city council, did you ever bring this to the city council?
Yeah, I was set for these 5 people right here
And that was how many years ago?
2 years ago. Might have been 3, but I believe it was 2 years ago.
Rick, do you know if that was turned down by the planning commission?
I do not. I'm gonna move up so I can hear you a little better, I'm sorry. My hearing's not as good as it once was. I remember Brian Messersmith being involved in coming to us about an annexation and a rezoning. I do recall that it was less than 5 acres. But as far as recalling going to the hearings and decisions by either the council or the planning commission, I cannot remember. I'd have to look the records up. But I know that Amber remembers talking to Brian, and I thought it stopped midstream with Brian because he realized that it was under 5 acres, but I'm not sure until I go back to pull the minutes.
I don't remember that coming before the planning commission, but my memory's not perfect. But, I mean, for the city council. But even though it may have been turned down, that doesn't preclude the new council or the next council or whatever from making a different decision based on different circumstances, different facts, different changes in the growth of the community. All those things come into play anytime you do anything with property. Property's not stagnant, and the use of property is not stagnant.
Rick, would you mind pulling those records for us, just so we'll know?
I'll be happy to.
Thank you. That way we'll know, and we can kind of.
Mr. President.
Mr. Mayor, go ahead.
Question.
Yes, sir.
Is it unusual for a B1 to be that far outside of the city? I know we have a central
Yes, sir.
business district, we
It
have a
is.
B1 and a B2.
We have that in a couple of cases, and that was done before I came here. Typically with zoning, you have CBD, then you move out to B1, then you move out to B2, and then you have some B3 interspersed. And it's based on the type of use for the different zoning districts. Some uses require a little more space, and they're typically pushed out a little bit. But unusual, no, because we have this situation all around the outskirts, where there's B1 farther out than I think it should be. But someone before me made that decision, so that's what we do with the zoning that exists now. And Roy's correct on the 5 acre, that is done a rule of thumb across the state, the major cities. But in special circumstances, the council can make a decision if it suits that area to zone it differently.
I guess, if an area of the town, okay, which has been, we're seeing it now in the CBD district, residential. We're surrounded by residential property in CBD district. But you'll see that blocks now are, the people are wanting to get farther away from businesses, and therefore they're wanting to develop these residential properties in CBD. So they're changing to CBD, and CBD is expanding. Well, just because it's residential doesn't mean this council can't come back and change it to a CBD, where it would be a use that would be useful to the community or to the law.
You're not turning a house into a
Right,
business.
turn your house into a business. I mean, that's not this situation, I'm just saying, that's the general purpose. Is that, in other words, that zoning is not a stagnant thing. In other words, properties will be rezoned 50 years from now, that possibly to B3 that are residential. You just don't know how the growth of the community is going to react. So that's the reason that zoning is flexible.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Roy. Mr. Cullman? Kyle. So we noted on everything that you said, we'll get those records and we'll pull that out before we take any action in our next meeting, which is obviously pushed till January 18th. All right? Anybody that's in opposition, anybody for it, please come forward at this time and speak. Mr. Fisher? Please give the podium, give your name, address, just for the record, and we'll give you 3 minutes.
Joseph Fisher, 900 6th Avenue Southeast. So we're trying to annex in about a 1.6 acre parcel, 278, just south of, just next to Dollar General. The only difference in us asking for B2 instead of B1 is simply because of our use of the property. We're going to look at putting a retail package store there on site. We're buying just under 2 acres, so the building we're going to build is going to be something that we think is going to be aesthetically pleasing to the area. We're not necessarily going to, put up anything that's going to be a nuisance to, the street view or anything along those lines. And we feel that we're touching B1 across the street, and so with the growth of the community, that's going to be B1 anyways down the road. So that's the only difference in our request versus B1 versus B2 is simply because of our use for that existing property. Outside of that, the other issue that has come to light since this is the people of St. Bernard expressing some concerns over, what our store may look like, people coming in and out of our store, and that kind of thing. Outside of, going inside of our store, if you drive by one of our stores, the only difference in our sign versus another store sign is the word beverages. So, unless you look in the window, unless you know what you're looking for, you don't say, oh, that's a liquor store, that's a package store, or anything like that. It's not like, we're gonna have people coming in and out. We're trying to make a development that's not only beneficial for us, but the city of Cullman and those kind of things. So, the last thing we want to do is build something that, is not wanted by the city or what we feel, is in our best interest. So, I know Colby's brother Kel voiced his concerns, but we've been working on this for just under a year. We've looked at all the property out there. We think it's a great location for us. So I appreciate you guys at least taking this into consideration. And we're willing to do anything on our end to make this happen. So we've got a proven track record. This will be the 3rd time we've done this. We've had no issues in the past. I'd like to think that we've been a benefit to the city instead of, the other way around. So all things considered,
Have you talked to St. Bernard?
I have not personally. I know yesterday I was in the room, Colby and Father Marcus had about a 20 to 30 minute conversation. He voiced his concerns to us. We voiced our concerns to him. I think we both understand each other's concerns. But from our standpoint, we're not trying to bend any rules to do what we're trying to do here. I understand his concerns, being that close to the entrance of a school and whatnot. But our store will only be visible from 278. From St. Bernard, no way would you ever be able to see it. There's a wooded area, plus Mr. Spear is going to put a hedgerow up behind our store. So, the only place you'd be able to see, you pass Dollar General, you see our store, then, you hit the woods, and then you could St. Bernard. Although we understand each concerns, I'm sure he disagrees with us and we disagree with him, but we both had a mutual understanding as to where we were, what we agreed on and what we disagreed on. So I would say at the end of that conversation, it was left on a good note. So
I talked with him today, he's changed his mind.
All right, you're at your 3 minutes. Any other questions from the council?
Any other questions for me?
Thank you, Mr. Fisher.
Thank you all for your time.
Again, this is a first reading, which is just part of it. There's no action taken tonight at all. At the next meeting, that's when everything that we'll have warrant.
What, 2 weeks, or will it just be 1 week?
I'm not sure, do we have to wait 2 weeks, or can we leave it until the next meeting? So it'll be January 18th, is when that meeting will happen, and we'll try to get a resolution in our mind. The more education we can bring and all the facts we can over, the better off we're prepared and educated to make the right decision also. So No action taken on number 4. Any board appointments tonight? Need a motion to adjourn? Excuse me?
Huh?
I thought you said you were going to report the utilities.
I think that was,
Change
it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's all right. No board appointment, motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
We have a motion, do we have a second? All in favor, say aye. Adjourn.
Considered
All right, first of all, you know, we had a terrible flood
high
here
school kids. I
on
know.
Christmas Day. As a matter of fact, it was so bad, we call it a 100-year flood. It actually filled our reservoir up out at Duck River, and that's a 640-acre plot of water. So it was a tremendous flood, and it did a lot of damage in the city of Cullman as well as Cullman County. For example, in Larkwood, it actually washed the road out there. We've looked at replacing that road, and the cost to replace that road is $1.4 million. So we've got a lot of damage also that happened at our wastewater treatment plant.
There's kids that border out there.
And the thing about that is, it's probably roughly $2 million because it damaged a lot of our panels, our control panels, as well as our UV, which the UV lighting sterilizes the water before it's released back into the 8 Mile Creek there. But we are treating with chlorine, so we're turning a lot of this into the state of Alabama on FEMA and federal help. So what has happened is, to meet that threshold to apply for help from the federal government, FEMA, you have to have a threshold of $7 million for the entire state. We're actually going to turn in probably including Duck River, our sewer lines, as well as our wastewater treatment plant and our roads. We'll probably turn in $8 million in Cullman and Cullman County alone. And we just finished a special call meeting because with so much of this damage damaged our pumps as well. And so those pumps have to be replaced. And I think you heard maybe 5 of those pumps have to be replaced. And then the other portion you heard about the ductile piping is we found a sewer line that got washed out behind the nursing home on the Child Haven Road. So we've got to, that's an emergency fix as well. Then the other thing we dealt with tonight was a rezoning issue. There's a property owner that wants to sell his property to an individual, but the property is zoned B1, and the person buying the property wants to rezone it to a B2. And a B2 allows package stores. And so that's what he's wanting to do. That's his plan, is to buy that property and put a package store in that area. And there is some opposition to it. So we're making sure that we analyze everything. We go back and we retrace the steps. Because in the ordinance itself, the alcohol ordinance, you have to be 1,500 feet away from a school or a church unless they give you an approval, a release. For example, we don't have any bars in Cullman. We don't want bars. And this would strictly be off-site sales. The person that bought it there would have to take it home and consume it there. For example, the Allstate got a release from the Methodist Church, and that's a restaurant. So restaurants can sell alcohol. So that's within probably 100 feet of a church, but the Methodist Church said that's fine with us. So they got a variance that they could go ahead and do that. And we're working on a lot of things right now. We've got a lot of things in the hopper that we plan to do this year. And we appreciate y'all coming back online and videoing us and coming down here. And we're just glad you're back online. Thank you.